There is a very specific psychological phenomenon that is triggered just milliseconds before your life takes a radical turn. Carl Jung called it Enantiodromia. It's that exact moment when an inner force crashes against its absolute limit and has no choice but to burst and violently transform into its opposite. So if you're watching this, relax. You're not failing. You're at the breaking point. Imagine a bow and an arrow. In order to shoot out with enough force to break something, first you have to be pulled back into the darkness under suffocating tension. That same tension, that damn feeling of being dragged down while the rest of the world happily moves forward with the script of their lives, is the ultimate proof that your greatest takeoff is about to happen. But before I show you how to cross that final frontier, I need you to break your social contract right now. Step 0 for any alchemist before transmuting their own lead. And yes, it's so direct that your rational mind will try to sabotage you by making you feel ashamed. It's your mask trying to survive 5 more minutes. Classic. Straighten your back. Remove your hands from wherever they're resting. Fix your gaze on a single point. Take 2 deep breaths. Now say it with lethal conviction, as if you were giving your own reality an ultimatum. The script is dead. I don't ask for permission. I make the rules. 3 sentences, 3 times each. Do it now. Listen to yourself out loud, because synchronicity only obeys the authority of the one who takes command, not the whining of someone still waiting for the world to come and rescue them. Did you listen carefully? Perfect. Now write this down.
Yo quemo el molde.
I destroy the mirror. I demand my place. I dominate. 4 phrases that are going to blow your mind in a few minutes. 4 exact principles to shatter your social mask and turn your best life into a non-negotiable reality. Jung noticed something fascinating. Right before you enter the best chapter of your story, your mental energy simply disconnects from the outside world. Suddenly, your career seems like a cheap play where you've forgotten your lines. Your circle of friends feels like a room where the oxygen has been cut off. And no, spoiler, this isn't depression. It's your ego's last tantrum. The version of you that got you here doesn't have the fuel to take you any further. You're being dismantled piece by piece so that the life you've been suffocating inside you can finally breathe. Most people throw in the towel at this stage because they make the rookie mistake of confusing silence with emptiness. But as Jung himself said, in all chaos there is a cosmos. In the chaos you're feeling right now, there's an order working in your favor. Today we're going to break down the 5 exact psychological markers that prove your current crisis isn't a punishment from the universe, but the perfect stage to build a life that will end up giving you goosebumps. But to understand why you feel like your reality is dissolving like an aspirin, we have to face the most sophisticated and frankly deceptive machine in the human mind, your persona. And pay attention, because in Latin this word didn't mean someone's character. It literally referred to the heavy clay masks that actors used in ancient theater. Those masks did 2 things. They projected a very clear social role so that the audience didn't have to think too much. And they served as a megaphone so that the actors' shouts could reach the last seat in the Colosseum. Jung noticed that nowadays, absolutely everyone hides behind the mask of the professional self, the educated self, the self that always smiles so as not to make the group uncomfortable. It's that version of yourself that you've been obsessively polishing for decades with a single goal. So that society throws you a few crumbs of security, status, and lets you belong to the club. A mask is your tool to negotiate with the world, a social skin, the tailored suit that protects your most sensitive core from constant friction with the rest of humanity. But here comes the deadly trap that Jung tried to warn us about all his life. The mask is a tool, not your identity. And the greatest tragedy of the soul happens when we identify so completely with the character that we completely forget who the hell is underneath. When you spend 30 years being the responsible one, the unreachable provider, or the iron leader who doesn't cry, your ego goes into a very dangerous trance. It starts to believe that the mask is its real face. You stop being a complex human who breathes and feels. You turn into a round-the-clock performance. You no longer live a life. You're managing a personal brand. You've traded the pure gold of your authentic nature for the scrap metal of social approval. A terrible deal, if you ask me. The irrefutable proof that you're stepping onto the threshold of the best chapter of your life. It's a visceral and sudden attack of what psychoanalysts call psychological bankruptcy. Imagine your mental energy as cash. Every time you force a smile while you're falling apart inside, whenever you agree to a plan that exhausts you, or every time you swallow a brilliant idea just to avoid making waves, you're paying taxes. Maintaining that facade of perfection consumes an absurd amount of emotional capital. You've been operating in the red for years. You've been borrowing from your future, your health, and your broken dreams, solely and exclusively to keep the circus of your current life afloat. Until one day, the bank of your subconscious says that's it. It slams the door in your face and suddenly you're bankrupt. It's at this very moment that you realize you can no longer keep playing that role that used to come to you on autopilot. You sit in a meeting and all that stale corporate vocabulary suddenly tastes like cold sand in your mouth. You go to a dinner with old friends and the superficial conversations about the weather feel like an anvil on your chest, like an invisible hand squeezing your throat. You look at yourself in the mirror and you have no idea who is looking back at you. And it's not that you've suddenly aged. It's that the mask has finally become too heavy for your spirit to keep dragging it around. To the general public, your boss, your partner, your colleagues, this looks exactly like a textbook nervous breakdown. They'll tell you that you've lost your spark, that you're acting strange, or that, poor thing, you have burnout syndrome. But from Jungian psychology, this isn't a failure. It's a full-blown mutiny. Your soul has just gone on strike. It has realized that the life you've built is ridiculously small for the person you are becoming. For Jung, this breakdown is actually an emergency intervention by your true self. Your mind is intentionally withdrawing all its resources from your old life. It is divesting from your mask because it needs every last drop of that energy to build your sovereign self. That's why, at this stage, you're going to feel a strange coldness and indifference toward things that used to matter to you deeply. That's why, maybe for the first time in your life, you find yourself being difficult, unfriendly, or deeply unsociable. And honestly, it was about time. You stop begging for sympathy and become obsessed with being real. And no, you didn't lose your social skills. Your sovereignty has just been born. You finally understand that your personality was never meant to fit into a factory mold. It's the good boy's official funeral. They train you to be the perfect son, the one who fulfills dad's unfulfilled dreams or the boring expectations of the system. But just before your big leap, that facade reeks of stagnant water. That sudden selfishness you feel doesn't make you a bad person. It's the first spark of your individuality. Basically, you're no longer willing to pawn your soul for a seat at a table where they don't even look you in the eye. It's a violent, uncomfortable process. You feel like you're losing power because the only power you knew was being good at lying. But Jung warned about it. The mask has to break so you can recover the gold you hid in the shadow. You've spent years applauding the greatness of others. This breakdown forces you to take it into your own hands. When the mask falls, you're left exposed. Without the shield of your resume, your reputation, or your chronic kindness, only what's real remains. It's terrifying, of course, but it's the only damn state in which you can receive what's coming. You can't claim your destiny while wearing someone else's face. This demolition isn't your downfall. It's clearing the ground with dynamite before building the palace. So if the performance falls apart and the applause no longer serves you, relax. You're not failing at life. You're failing at a script that was never written for you. That's the first electric shock. The ghost leaves the machine, and for the first time there is absolute silence. In that emptiness, your true architect begins to give orders. They're dismantling you, yes, but to rebuild you. If the first stage was disconnecting you from the world, the second is an invasion. Carl Jung said that nothing affects the people around them, especially their children, more than the unlived life of the parents. But the irony that almost everyone ignores is that this repressed life not only haunts your descendants, it haunts you. Just when you're about to enter your best chapter, all those parts you suffocated or hid away in a drawer to survive organize a coup. You've made tough trades before. To have one, you won't fall apart. That phase has its purpose, and you move on. That's normal. To the unpleasant one, your free spirit. You buried your uniqueness under tons of normality. But those pieces don't disappear by magic. Yours, they go to the basement. A truth is yours. Yours.
Del cambio, esos fantasmas pierden la paciencia. De golpe,
Irrational impulses. You become obsessed with a language you don't speak, a craft you've never tried, or a philosophy that upends everything you were taught. You find yourself looking out the office window, feeling an animal pull toward a life that looks nothing like your current schedule. To your ego, that scared office worker in charge of your mind, this smells like the typical midlife crisis. But in Jung's laboratory, it's the blueprint of your new self leaking through the cracks. Your best version demands that you be whole, not just nice. Everyone kills themselves trying to be perfect, but perfection forces you to cut off what doesn't work. Being whole requires you to go back for everything you left behind along the way. That unlived life is the collection of your missing pieces. It's the gold you dropped in the darkness. It was too heavy to carry up the damn corporate ladder. That's why just millimeters before you expand, deep grief suffocates you. You cry for the artist you didn't dare to be at 20, for the risk you didn't take at 30, and that pain is a warning signal. Your other life demands you mourn it once and for all so it can be integrated. You're not stuck in the past. You're reclaiming the energy trapped in the dead versions of yourself. Your mind starts producing what Jung called active imagination. Symbolic dreams so vivid they scare you. Maybe you dream of forgotten hallways from your childhood, or you run into strangers in your mind who feel more like family than your own blood. You're not going crazy. They are ambassadors of your unlived life, not just here for sightseeing. They bring the exact tools you need for your next chapter. The artist you suffocated has the vision for your new career.
Rebelde que mandaste callar guarda el valor crudo para romper tus ciclos tóxicos. El buscador que ignoraste custodia el propósito que te mantendrá en pie cuando, inevitablemente, los aplausos desaparezcan.
The world, always so compassionate, will tell you that it's already too late. They'll stick the label of late bloomer on you, as if it were a nice consolation prize. But Jung was clear about it. The most imposing trees are the ones that grow the slowest. That repressed life isn't a graveyard of lost opportunities. It's your damn nuclear reactor in reserve. If you feel an irrational urge to swerve, a hunger that food can't satisfy, and a thirst that status no longer quenches, don't even think about repressing it. They're recruiting you from within. Your own soul demands that you stop acting out the life you were assigned and start living the one that was designed just for you. Here, you stop being just a simple professional or a docile provider. You become an alchemist. You become a man who is not just a man, the gold of your truth. This invasion feels like an apocalypse because it destroys your perfect schedule. But in all chaos, there is a cosmos. What you're feeling now is literally the secret order of your future, kicking the furniture to make space. They're taking you apart so that the life you haven't lived can finally come to life. And right among the rubble of your mask, you enter the quietest and most terrifying phase of the journey. Jung called it the retreat to the inner castle. In less poetic terms, it's breaking the social mirror. Let's be brutal. You've spent your whole life functioning by reflex. Since you were born, you've used your parents, bosses, and partners as mirrors to figure out who you were. If they smiled at you, you were good. If they promoted you, you were successful. If they wanted you close, you were worth it. For 99% of people, this is their only radar. They don't use an internal compass. They're led like sheep by the consensus in the room. But just a millimeter away from your big leap, there's a glitch in the matrix. The mirrors stop reflecting you. Suddenly, you fall into a sacred isolation. It starts with a short circuit in the frequencies. You sit down to have coffee with friends from 10 years ago and you realize with a knot in your stomach that you no longer speak the same language. Their dramas seem fake to you, and your internal tsunamis are indecipherable to them. You try to explain to them the war you have in your head, and they give you blank stares, or worse, they offer you practical textbook advice so you can go back to being your old self. That's when the mirror shatters into 1,000 pieces. You realize that those people are physically incapable of seeing who you are becoming. They can only interact with the ghost of who you used to be. For your frightened ego, this is a massacre. It smells like pure loneliness. You feel like the universe just socially canceled you. Your phone doesn't ring, the invitations dry up. Or worse, you exclude yourself because pretending to be interested in mediocre things drains the life out of you. Here, most people panic. They beg for attention to return to the herd, but this isn't a divine punishment. It's a strategic incubator. You'll never grow psychologically if you need the world to applaud every step you take. As long as you seek a reflection, you'll be a slave to the mirror. To crown yourself as the absolute master of your life, you have to go through a total blackout. Learn to breathe in the darkness of your own mind until your inner light burns enough to illuminate the path. That's how your real authority is born. When the mirror breaks, you come face to face with the most lethal question of the human psyche. Who is watching? Who am I when there's no applause? Who am I without a stupid title to hide behind? Almost no one answers this. They're too afraid of silence. But for strange minds, this deathly silence is exactly where the gold is hidden. Jung maintained that your best stage always begins with a change of currency. You stop begging for external validation and start producing internal certainty. You stop being just a reaction to the world, and you become the cause. In this almost surgical isolation, you're not losing friends. You're blowing up the anchors that kept you tied to a miniature version of yourself. Your old social circle worked like a speed limiter for your soul. They forced you to go slow so you wouldn't scare the herd. By shattering the mirror, the universe simply took off the brakes for you. It's clearing the runway by force so your new life has space to land. It's only logical that you feel invisible, as if the world keeps partying without you, leaving you stranded in a stagnant puddle. But think about bamboo. It spends years underground without showing a single damn millimeter. It's a ghost to everyone else. But in the darkness, it's building a monstrous root system. And when the exact moment comes, it bursts 30 meters upward all at once. You are in the root phase. And this isolation is the solid ground that shields you while you are completely rewired. Jung called it the temenos, a sacred and protected enclosure where real magic can happen without idiots interfering. Your current loneliness is that safety barrier. Your subconscious drew a line to keep out the world's useless noise while it composes the soundtrack of your future. The ultimate sign that this quarantine is about to end? A cold, exquisite, and lethal indifference. You stop giving explanations that no one asked for. You stop trying so hard to be understood. You realize you don't need a stupid mirror because now you are the spotlight. You start to fiercely enjoy your own company. And you understand the best cosmic joke. To be totally out of sync with a world that has already lost its mind. It's the ultimate proof of sanity. When you stop seeking your worth in the eyes of others, you finally regain your sight. You no longer put on public shows. You train yourself for a greater purpose. The mirror had to shatter so that the window could finally open. And right here, with your mask on the ground, your ghosts in command and the social mirror broken, you arrive at the most illogical door of the whole journey: active surrender. For the success addict, the perfectionist, or the one who spends their whole life battering down walls, headfirst to make things happen, this smells like betrayal. It feels like raising the white flag. But in the mind's design, it's the complete opposite. It's the exact moment when the stubborn tenant, exhausted, finally returns the keys to the real architect. Jung noticed that our ego is an arrogant colonizer. It believes that through brute force, stress, and early mornings, it can force the universe to kneel. Since we were children, we've been tattooed with the lie that if your life isn't working, you need to push harder, sleep less, and wear yourself out. But
Centímetros de tu gran salto.
the time has come for it to fade away. The harder you push, the further the goal gets, because your best version isn't a plastic trophy you win by sweating blood. It's a frequency you tune into. Jung called it the leap from ego to the self. Your ego is a terrified office worker begging for security. Your instinct, a beast demanding the whole world. When the ego collapses after exhausting its tricks, beginners see an apocalypse. Jung would tell you, congratulations. Your hysteria finally shut up. Careful. Surrendering is not crying in a corner. It's pulling the bow until you bleed and releasing the arrow without caring about the outcome. Because the cosmic joke is that you are the target. Suddenly everything makes sense. Your worst blockages were never breaks. They were calibrations. The universe was waiting for you to stop banging your head against the door so it could open it from the inside. You no longer push the river, you become the river. And when you manage to say, I don't know what's next without panicking, you become untouchable. That's how you reach the final boss, your golden shadow. Forget your demons. We're 1,000 times more afraid of our own light. Your life didn't pause because you weren't enough, but because you were scared shitless of being too great. Dimming your light so you don't make mediocre people uncomfortable isn't humility, it's a spiritual crime. Your current stagnation is literally your greatness gathering dust. But the victim narrative has expired. Your ruins have always been your military academy. You take the lead from your traumas, throw it into the fire, and get the joke. It was always pure gold. Own your weirdness. Kill the pitiful I wish and nail down an uncompromising I am. You look back and you see it clearly. The universe never wanted to destroy you. It wanted to smash your mass to pieces with a hammer so that once and for all, you could breathe. If you feel a cold electricity on the back of your neck right now, it's your golden shadow kicking down the door. Jung's missile was lethal. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to be. You've already swallowed fire. Your leap begins at the exact millisecond you stop asking for permission to exist. Your best life stopped being a cheap motivational poster. Now it's a damn inevitability.